in China, but it still seems that this surplus plus is still there.
Right, let's get back to your country, Germany. The largest bank there, Deutsche Bank, is back in the news. Now, ECB is considering special investigation regarding that bank's two biggest shareholders. Fill us into the story. Is this a market-moving headline in today's trading session?
Yeah, this is a really interesting story here at the market because, you know, Deutsche Bank, I mean, in the German, Deutsche Bank means basically the German bank. But when you look closely into the bank, their two biggest shareholders are actually coming on the one hand from Qatar, and the biggest shareholder is H&A Group from China. They're holding 9.9% of Deutsche Bank right now. And I was at the shareholder meeting a little bit earlier this year, and you can really feel how much influence, how much basically this H&A Group has to say in the German bank headquarter, and that's what's making the European Central Bank actually worried. Now they are considering, it has not been confirmed, but they're considering a special investigation. Basically, they want to know, you know, where all the money comes from. On the, you know, when you talk about Qatar, for example, there's always this question, you know, how Qatar is financing all of this. Always, you know, the question is being raised, you know, how basically safe the money is that comes from Qatar. You know, Qatar has been accused many times, you know, even financing, you know, terror organization. And also the credibility of China when it comes to banking and also to giving out credit has been questioned a lot in the past by investors and also by those authorities. So I can tell you this is a really interesting move, also because of the fact that usually this certain investigation is only happening from the European Central Bank when a shareholder is actually holding more than 10% of the bank. That's not the case. So the European Central Bank would be making, if this comes through, an exception in this case.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel. Well, the week has just started, so we'll still have a long week to go, and the events will keep evolving. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll move on now to the U.S., where the stock index futures pointed to a relatively flat open as investors turned their attention to corporate earnings results. Netflix and BlackRock will be some of the major names kicking off earnings week this Monday, with investors also looking for results out of J.B. Hunt Transport and Brown & Brown Incorporated. Investors will also be looking out for the Empire State Manufacturing Survey, slated to come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Last Friday, data revealed that consumer prices remained unchanged in June and retail sales fell for the second straight month. The economic news is likely to dampen expectations on strong economic growth in the second quarter, with investors wondering what this may mean for rate hike strategy for the Federal Reserve going forward. The numbers there are flat, though looking green there. Dow Jones Industrial Average 0.39%, S&P 500 0.47%, and Nasdaq 0.61%. And in Asia, the markets closed mixed today following the release of better-than-expected China's second quarter GDP. South Korea's Kospi rose 0.43% to close at 2,425.10. The Kospi had traded as high as 2,430.34 earlier in the session. The Australian ASX 200 closed down 0.17% after a session of sideways trade. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was higher by 0.28%. On the mainland, markets traded in negative territory. The Shanghai Composite tumbled 1.42% and the Shenzhen Composite tumbled 4.27%, despite the release of better-than-expected China's second quarter GDP. Japan's markets are closed for Marine Day. And back here in Nigeria, the FMDQ OTC securities market has successfully listed the Chapel Hill Durham Infrastructure Debt Fund on the market. The ceremony, which took place at the FMDQ headquarters in Lagos, is the pioneer infrastructure bond listing in Nigeria.
Infrastructure essentially will enable Nigeria to realize its twin economic objectives of diversification and industrialization. It's infrastructure that lays the ground for investments, and it's investments that creates jobs And in an economy of 187 million people, I cannot overemphasize how important that is. Inadequate power and transportation networks currently hamper Nigeria's ability to realize its agricultural potential by limiting processing capabilities and the efficient movement of produce from farms all over the country to domestic and export markets. Inadequate transportation networks, especially the rail, also means that Nigeria's significant mining potential will never ever be realized. What we have done today is significant in some ways, and it's a big start for channeling Nigeria's pension funds into infrastructure.
We're here to celebrate Chapel Hill Denham's remarkable achievement with the issuance of the Nigerian Infrastructure Debt Fund, the first ever of its kind in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. And who else could have taken such a bold step to look at Nigerians' challenges and decide to proffer solutions but Chapel Hill? Their deep commitment towards the development of the Nigerian capital markets is unquestionable. As a matter of fact, in 2015, when FMDQ hosted the Nigerian Debt Capital Markets Workshop, Chapel Hill supported that initiative with their presentation and appeal to market participants with respect to funding for infrastructure projects to tackle Nigeria's growing infrastructure deficit. And the role of capital markets was emphasized by Mr. Balogun. As my colleague to me said earlier, Chapel Hill doesn't just talk, they walk the talk. They have proved that we can move Nigeria forward. Their act on their goals and conquering new frontiers is unprecedented. Chapel Hill has always highlighted the mismatch between the time horizon of banking loans and the projects of this nature in Nigeria. And of course, the following liquidity challenges.
We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll talk about this listing on the FMDQ OTC securities market. To stay with us.